For more than 3,000 years, Queen Nefertiti has remained one of the most mysterious figures in human history. Her face is instantly recognizable around the world. Her famous bust, discovered in Egypt in 1912, transformed her into a symbol of beauty, power, and royal prestige. Yet, despite her fame, historians continue to debate some of the most basic questions about her life. Who was she before becoming queen? What role did she truly play within the royal court? What happened to her near the end of her life? And perhaps most importantly, could modern science reveal secrets that ancient records failed to preserve? For generations, Egyptologists believed they understood the general outline of Nefertiti's story. She lived during the 18th dynasty of ancient Egypt and became the great royal wife of Pharaoh Akhenaten. Together, they presided over one of the most unusual periods in Egyptian history. Akhenaten dramatically altered religious traditions, promoting the worship of the Aten, a solar deity represented by the sun's disk. Massive temples were constructed, ancient customs were challenged, political structures shifted, art itself changed in ways that continue to fascinate scholars today. Nefertiti stood at the center of these developments. Unlike many royal women of earlier periods, she appeared prominently in artwork and official inscriptions. Images depicted her participating in ceremonies, offering gifts to the gods, and standing beside Akhenaten as an apparent partner in both religious and political affairs. In some scenes, she appeared nearly equal to the king himself. Such representations were unusual and suggested that her influence extended far beyond ceremonial duties. Yet, despite this visibility, mysteries surrounded her from the beginning. Ancient records reveal surprisingly little about Nefertiti's origins. Historians have proposed numerous theories regarding her family background. Some believe she may have been the daughter of a powerful Egyptian nobleman. Others suggest connections to foreign royal families. Several possibilities remain under consideration, but definitive evidence has never emerged. The lack of certainty became one of the first puzzles surrounding her life. As decades passed, another mystery developed. Nefertiti seemed to disappear. During the later years of Akhenaten's reign, references to her became increasingly rare. Inscriptions mentioning her declined. Artistic depictions changed. Eventually, her name appeared to vanish from many official records. Historians proposed various explanations. Some suggested she died unexpectedly. Others believed she may have assumed a new political role under a different name. A few researchers even proposed that she briefly ruled Egypt as a pharaoh after Akhenaten's death. The absence of clear evidence transformed her disappearance into one of the greatest unsolved mysteries of ancient Egypt. For centuries, historians relied primarily on archaeology, inscriptions, and artistic evidence to reconstruct her story. Then, modern science introduced a powerful new tool: genetics. Advances in DNA analysis began offering researchers opportunities that previous generations could scarcely imagine. Ancient remains, once limited to visual examination and historical interpretation, could now provide biological information. Family relationships could potentially be identified. Lineages could be reconstructed. Questions that had remained unanswered for centuries suddenly seemed approachable. The possibility excited Egyptologists around the world. If DNA could be successfully recovered from royal mummies, perhaps the mysteries surrounding Nefertiti might finally be solved. The challenge, however, was enormous. Ancient Egyptian remains are thousands of years old. DNA degrades over time. Environmental conditions, contamination, and preservation methods all affect scientific analysis. Obtaining reliable genetic information requires extraordinary care and sophisticated technology. Even when samples are available, interpreting results can be complicated. Despite these obstacles, researchers continued pursuing answers. Attention soon focused on the royal family associated with Akhenaten. The period itself was already remarkable. Akhenaten's religious revolution had transformed Egypt. His successor, Tutankhamun, would later become one of the most famous pharaohs in history following the discovery of his nearly intact tomb. The family occupied a unique place within Egyptian history, and if scientists could map relationships within that family, they might finally understand Nefertiti's place within it. Investigations intensified. Researchers examined royal mummies believed to belong to members of the 18th dynasty. Advanced scanning technologies revealed new details about skeletal structures and health conditions. Genetic studies attempted to identify familial connections. Every new discovery generated excitement. Then unexpected results began emerging. The genetic evidence suggested that the royal family may have been even more complex than historians previously believed. Scientists studying Tutankhamun's family tree discovered indications of close familial relationships among several individuals. The findings supported long-standing theories that royal marriages often occurred within extended family networks. Such practices were not uncommon among ancient ruling dynasties seeking to preserve royal bloodlines and political legitimacy. Yet the deeper researchers investigated, the more questions emerged. Certain identities remained uncertain. Several mummies discovered in royal tombs lacked definitive names. Their identities had been debated for decades. Some candidates appeared more likely than others, but certainty remained elusive. Genetic evidence provided clues, yet not always clear answers. One unidentified mummy attracted particular attention. Known informally among researchers as the Younger Lady, the mummy had been discovered in the Valley of the Kings. For years, historians debated her identity. Was she a royal daughter, a queen, a sister of Akhenaten? Could she somehow be connected to Nefertiti? DNA analysis revealed that the Younger Lady possessed an extremely important connection. She was identified as the mother of Tutankhamun. The revelation immediately reshaped discussions surrounding the royal family. For decades, many people assumed Nefertiti might have been Tutankhamun's mother. The new findings complicated that assumption. Genetic evidence suggested the Younger Lady shared close biological relationships with other members of the royal family, creating a family structure more intricate than previously imagined. The discovery solved one mystery but created several new ones. If the Younger Lady was Tutankhamun's mother, where exactly did Nefertiti fit within the royal lineage? The answer remained unclear. Some researchers argued that Nefertiti was not Tutankhamun's biological mother at all. Others proposed that she may have held a different familial role. The debate intensified as scientists and historians attempted to reconcile genetic evidence with archaeological records. Meanwhile, another question gained increasing attention. Where was Nefertiti herself? Unlike several other members of the royal family, her mummy had never been conclusively identified. Numerous candidates were proposed, various tombs were examined, potential burial sites were investigated. Every few years, new theories emerged claiming that Nefertiti's final resting place had been discovered. Yet none achieved universal acceptance. The possibility that one of Egypt's most famous queens remained unidentified fascinated both researchers and the public. Modern imaging technology further fueled speculation. High-resolution scans of tombs revealed structural anomalies hidden behind walls. Some researchers suggested that undiscovered chambers might still exist within famous burial complexes. One controversial theory proposed that Nefertiti's tomb could remain concealed behind sections of Tutankhamun's burial chamber. The idea captured global attention. If true, it would represent one of the greatest archaeological discoveries in modern history. Investigations followed. Specialized radar equipment examined the tomb. Experts analyzed data. Debates erupted regarding interpretation. Some researchers believed evidence supported the hidden chamber theory. Others disagreed strongly. The controversy highlighted a recurring challenge in archaeology. Evidence rarely speaks for itself. Interpretation matters. Different experts can examine the same information and reach different conclusions. As discussions continued, genetic research remained central to the mystery. Scientists hoped that future discoveries might provide additional DNA samples. Better technology could improve analysis. New archaeological finds could introduce previously unknown individuals into the family tree. Each advancement offered opportunities to refine understanding. What made the situation particularly intriguing was the possibility that history itself might require revision. For generations, historical narratives presented relatively straightforward explanations of royal relationships. Yet genetics introduced complexity. Ancient records sometimes omitted information. Political motives influenced inscriptions. Royal propaganda shaped public images. Not everything recorded in stone reflected complete reality. DNA offered a different perspective, a biological perspective. And, occasionally, biology challenged assumptions built upon traditional interpretations. The implications extended beyond Nefertiti alone. Understanding her true identity could affect interpretations of Akhenaten's reign, the succession of Egyptian rulers, and the broader history of one of the world's most influential civilizations. Each discovery connected to larger questions. Who inherited power? How were royal families structured? What political alliances existed behind the scenes? What stories never appeared in official records? Researchers increasingly recognized that Nefertiti represented more than a historical figure. She represented a puzzle composed of archaeology, genetics, politics, religion, and royal ambition. Every new piece changed the picture. Yet the picture remained incomplete. The deeper scientists explored the evidence, the more they realized that some of the most important questions remained unanswered. The genetic clues were revealing extraordinary information, but they were also exposing gaps in historical understanding. And those gaps hinted at a possibility that many historians found both exciting and unsettling. Perhaps the traditional story of Nefertiti had never been entirely correct. Perhaps key assumptions had survived for centuries simply because no better evidence existed. And perhaps the most astonishing revelations were still waiting to be discovered. As genetic research continued advancing, the mystery surrounding Queen Nefertiti became even more complex. What initially began as an effort to clarify royal family relationships in ancient Egypt gradually turned into one of the most debated historical investigations in modern archaeology. Each new discovery seemed to solve one question while creating several more, and the deeper scientists went into the genetic evidence, the more uncertain the overall picture became. The focus of research increasingly shifted toward the royal tombs discovered in the Valley of the Kings. This area had already produced some of the most important archaeological findings in history, including the intact tomb of Tutankhamun. However, despite decades of exploration, several burials from the 18th dynasty remained partially unidentified or controversially attributed. Among these, the potential connection to Nefertiti became one of the most sensitive and heavily discussed topics. DNA testing of royal mummies revealed a tightly connected family network. The evidence confirmed that intermarriage within the royal bloodline was common, a practice intended to preserve dynastic purity and strengthen political authority. While this was not unusual for ancient ruling families, it created significant complications for modern researchers trying to map accurate genealogical trees. Overlapping relationships made it difficult to distinguish between siblings, parents, and cousins using genetic data alone. One of the most significant discoveries involved the identification of Tutankhamun's immediate family. Genetic analysis confirmed that his parents were closely related, likely siblings. This revelation shocked many historians because it confirmed that royal incestuous marriages were not symbolic in nature, but biological realities within the dynasty. This discovery forced researchers to reconsider long-standing assumptions about royal lineage and raise new questions about the identity of Queen Nefertiti within this complex structure. If Nefertiti was not directly Tutankhamun's mother, then her role in the royal family required re-examination. Ancient inscriptions had often portrayed her as a powerful queen and possibly even a co-ruler, but they did not provide clear biological information. Genetic evidence, however, suggested that another female mummy, previously unidentified for decades, was the biological mother of Tutankhamun. This individual became central to the ongoing debate and further complicated the historical narrative. As researchers compared DNA sequences from multiple royal mummies, inconsistencies began to appear between traditional historical assumptions and genetic findings. Some relationships appeared stronger than expected, while others were absent entirely. This mismatch between archaeology and genetics forced scientists to approach conclusions with caution. It became clear that DNA alone could not fully explain the historical identities without careful interpretation of archaeological context. Meanwhile, the identity of Nefertiti herself remained unresolved. Despite her importance in Egyptian history, no mummy had been definitively confirmed as belonging to her. Several candidates were proposed over time, but each theory faced criticism due to insufficient evidence or conflicting interpretations. Some researchers suggested that her remains might still be undiscovered, while others believed she may have been buried in a location that has yet to be fully explored or identified. One of the most controversial theories suggested that Nefertiti may have been buried in a hidden chamber connected to the tomb of another royal figure. Advanced scanning technology had detected possible voids behind certain walls in the Valley of the Kings, leading to speculation that undiscovered burial chambers might still exist. If true, these chambers could potentially contain untouched royal remains, including Nefertiti herself. However, repeated investigations produced conflicting results, and no definitive proof has been found to confirm the theory. Despite the lack of certainty, the idea of a hidden tomb captured global attention. The possibility that one of history's most famous queens could still lie undiscovered within a sealed chamber added an almost cinematic quality to the scientific debate. Archaeologists remained divided, with some advocating further excavation and others warning against premature conclusions without stronger evidence. At the same time, genetic research continued refining the broader understanding of the 18th dynasty. Scientists were able to map more detailed family connections, revealing a dynasty far more interconnected than previously believed. This network of relationships suggested that political power and family structure were deeply intertwined, with marriage often used as a tool to maintain control within the royal lineage. As a result, many identifications remained probabilistic rather than absolute. This uncertainty had a direct impact on the ongoing debate about Nefertiti. Some researchers proposed that she may have held a more politically dominant role than previously understood, possibly even acting as a ruler in her own right after Akhenaten's reign. Others suggested she may have disappeared from records due to political restructuring or religious reversal following the collapse of Akhenaten's monotheistic reforms. Ancient Egypt, like many civilizations, sometimes revised official inscriptions to reflect changing political realities. Names of certain individuals were erased or replaced depending on shifts in power. This practice raised the possibility that Nefertiti's absence from later records may not have been accidental but intentional. If this were true, it would mean that part of her story was intentionally removed from history, leaving only fragments behind for modern researchers to interpret. Genetic evidence, however, cannot reveal political motivations. It can only show biological relationships. This limitation created a gap between scientific findings and historical interpretation that continues to challenge experts today. As debates continued, attention also turned toward the technological future of Egyptology. Yet, despite technological progress, caution remained essential. Every new claim required careful validation. Previous announcements in Egyptology had sometimes been met with excitement, but later revised or challenged by further research. This pattern encouraged scientists to maintain a careful balance between enthusiasm and scientific rigor. Even without definitive answers, the mystery of Nefertiti continued to grow in global significance. She was no longer only a historical queen. She had become a symbol of lost identity, incomplete history, and the limits of human knowledge. Her story represented the intersection of archaeology, genetics, and historical interpretation, where each discipline offered partial answers, but none could provide the complete picture alone. The more researchers learned, the more they realized how much remained unknown. Every genetic discovery revealed new connections, but also new gaps. Every archaeological finding added detail, but also raised further questions. The result was a constantly evolving narrative that refused to settle into a final form. What remained clear, however, was that Queen Nefertiti's legacy extended far beyond her original historical depiction. Whether she was a political ruler, a symbolic figure, or a hidden force behind the royal court, her influence on Egyptian history was undeniable. Yet the full truth of her identity remained concealed within layers of time, sand, and uncertainty. As research continues, scientists remain hopeful that future discoveries will finally bring clarity. But until that moment arrives, Queen Nefertiti remains one of the most compelling mysteries of ancient Egypt. A queen whose genetic secrets may one day rewrite history itself.